Hello guys, we are back at it. We are going to continue our creation of the Money Matters app. In today's edition, we're going to learn how to create data models in AppSheet. Now, by connecting multiple tables in AppSheet, you're going to create a data model. And by doing that, you're going to be able to create more intuitive apps that can do more. So if you're ready, join me as we do this together.
So we are back in our AppSheet editor. What we've done so far, what we've been able to achieve in the last session was to be able to create our transaction table where we can pass transactions, that's income and expenditure, and then it will be recorded in this table view. Now, in today's session, considering what we want to achieve, we want to be able to analyze the amount of money we spent. That's based on cash, mobile money, or bank. So if we switch to the completed mobile money apps, you realize we have a page dedicated for our mode of payment that shows your cash, your bank, and your mobile money. Now, when you double click on any of this, it analyzes that particular mode of payment. So it shows the current balance, start balance, total inflows, total outflows, your cash receipts, and your cash payments. So we want to be able to create something like this in our Money Matters app so that we're able to determine what our current balance for each mode of payment is and then what the inflows and outflows has been like for that mode of payment. So to create this, we need to understand what the data model is in AppSheets. So I prepared a little presentation, PowerPoint presentation, to explain what data models are in AppSheets. So let's go. So this is the presentation on Money Matters app, personal finance app with AppSheets. So first, what are data models? Now, data models are basically a connection of tables, which allows any system or software that's storing data to understand how these tables are related to each other. Okay, so it's defined as how data is connected to each other and how they are processed and stored in a system. So it allows a computer to understand how one table relates to another table. Now, basically, the tables in any data model can be classified into two main categories. Okay, first is the fact table. Okay, so a fact table in a data model is a table that contains the main activity of the data model. Okay, it contains the day-to-day transactions of the data model. For example, if you have a data model for a transport firm like Uber, the fact table is going to be the table that contains the ride requests made by users. So every time a user requests a ride, that request is recorded in the fact table. Okay. Now the other tables are classified as dimension tables. Now dimension tables are auxiliary tables. They are more like helping tables that provide more information about particular fields in the fact table. So taking into consideration our Uber example, the request table is the fact table, and then any other table that better explains various fields in that table is called the dimension table. So if you have a table on your drivers that provides information about their gender, the number of rides they've carried out, their rating, all those information will be recorded in another table called the drivers table. It gives information about a particular driver, and then it better explains the field, the driver's field in the fact table. So now I'm going to show an example of a restaurant business, how it operates, and then how their data model will look like. So if you have a normal restaurant business like this, where users place orders with an app, so they order a meal with an app to the restaurant, the order is received by the restaurant. Now the restaurant is going to notify a rider that the order is ready to be picked up. The rider comes, pick up the meal, and then delivers it to the user who placed the order. Okay, so something like this, a business model like this, can be broken down into a data structure like this. So first, you have your fact table, which is going to be the orders table. This table is going to contain all the orders that users place to the restaurants. So you have the dates, the ID, the order ID, the food, customer, location, rider, and status of the order. Now you realize that your dimension tables are going to be a menu table that's going to have the names of all your meals, the category, are they drinks, are they, you kind of classify their meals. So you can place those in the category section, and then you can have the price. So this table better explains the content of this field in the fact table. Now the same goes for dates. Okay, so in some data models, they need a date calendar. They need a calendar table that better analyzes the date field in their fact table. And then you have a customer table that analyzes the customer field. So in this table, you have the customer names, you have their age, their gender, their phone numbers, their emails, to better analyze the content of the fact table. That's the customer. Okay, you can have other dimension tables. You can have a table on just location, showing town, city, region, country, those kind of analysis. Same goes for rider. You can have details on your riders. So what I'm basically saying is that dimension tables are more their explanation tables for certain fields in the fact table. Okay, so with this understanding, let's try and understand how we can create a data model for our Money Matters app. So currently what we have is a transactions table. In this transactions table, we have an ID column, date, type, category, mode of payment, details, and amount columns. Now we want to better analyze the mode of payment column. Okay, that means we need to create a dimension table for it. Okay, so this is going to be the dimension table for it. Now basically we are going to start with the various mode of payment as cash, mobile money, and bank, and we're going to state maybe the starting balance. So we are starting with 1,000 for cash, 250 for mobile money, and 3,000 for bank. Okay, so that's our start balance dimension table. Now to create a relationship between these two tables, all you need to do is to set the data type of the mode of payment in AppSheet, that's in the transaction table, as ref. So there's a special data type for columns that are connection to a dimension table. So in the fact table, we're going to set the mode of payment data type to ref. By doing this, you establish a relationship between this column and then this table. Now you notice that as soon as we create this relationship, a new column is created in our dimension table called related transactions. So basically the name comes from the name of the fact table. So if this fact table was called maybe activities, this column would have been called related activities column. Okay, so based on the name of this fact table, that's how this name is derived. Okay, now the basic rule of this related transactions column is to record every transaction that relates to a particular mode of payment. So for example, if a new transaction is recorded on 27th of October, there was an income, the category is business, and the mode of payment was cash. The amount is 100 Ghana cedi. This column is going to record the key of that transaction because it relates to cash, under cash. So as we record new transactions, the relay will capture those transactions under the appropriate mode of payment. So if I record more transactions, realize that these transactions are recorded under their related or the appropriate mode of payment. This enables app creators better analyze contents of the transactions table in the mode of payment table. So that's how we are able to determine the total amount of cash that has been spent. We're able to know the total amount of bank receipts and mobile money receipts and all those things because we are able to track this using the related transactions column created once we establish a relationship between these two columns. Okay, so with this understanding, we're going to go back into our AppSheet editor and create our mode of payment table. Okay, so now we are back in our AppSheet editor. So now we need to create a new table that will be capturing records for each mode of payment. So we need to go back to our data source. So to go back to your data source, you come to data, click on your table, and you can click view source. Once you click view source, your spreadsheet that you're using to create this app will open up. Okay, so currently these are the two transactions we've recorded in this app. What we're going to do is we're going to create another table to be our dimension table for mode of payment. So click here to create a new sheet. I'm going to call this MOP. That's mode of payment. So basically it's going to have just two columns. So type and then start balance. So let's start cash, bank, mobile money. So let's start with 100 for cash, 250 for bank, and then 150 for mobile money. Once we are done, all we need to do is to come to our Money Matters app. Under data tables, you click on new table, add data from Google Sheets, and you navigate to your spreadsheets. So AppSheet spreadsheets, Money Matters, and I'm going to select my spreadsheet. So then now it's going to request that we create a new table, Money Matters. So I'm going to select the new sheet I have here. I'm going to add. So AppSheet is going to load this as a new table, and then we can work with it. So okay, so view columns. So my type, and then my start balance. Like I always say, you need to set the data types of your columns. It's very important. So currently price is amount. So I'm just going to check the currency to make sure. We're going to check the currency to make sure this is not dollar. So change this to none. Okay, and hit done. Okay, so now we have our mode of payment column. Now what we need to do is to establish a connection between this table and this table. So like I said, you need to establish this connection in the fact table. So I'm going to my fact table, and under mode of payment, I'm going to change the type from enum, which is a list, to ref. Once I do that, AppSheet is going to ask me, so what's the source table or what's the dimension table for this column? I'm going to select mode of payments. Okay, hit done and save. Now once this is done, when I go back to my mode of payment table, you notice a new column called the related transactions column. The data type is a list. Now another thing you notice is that while the editor icon for all the columns are black, this column is blue. The reason why it's blue is because it's a virtual column. It has not set in my spreadsheet. Okay, so all these ones, these black ones are in my spreadsheet, but this blue one is a virtual column that doesn't sit in my spreadsheet. Okay, it was created by AppSheet to help me better analyze my data in my app. Okay, so once we've done this, over here in our preview app, we now have our modes of payment. So cash, 100. Now this is the related transactions I was talking about. So you see all transactions related to cash have been recorded here. When I move to bank, there's no transaction. More money, there's one transaction, that's more money. So that's what the related transactions column do. It basically captures all transactions relating to a particular mode of payment. So once we've done this, we can now use this related transactions column, okay, to create a total inflow and total outflow columns for our app, just like we have in our completed Money Matters app. So for cash, you realize we have total inflows and total outflows. That's the same logic we want to do for our current app we are creating. So all we're going to do is we're going to sum all inflows and we're going to sum all outflows, basically. Okay, so to do this, we're going to create our own virtual column. So to create a virtual column, this column is not going to sit in our spreadsheet. It's going to just be residing in our app. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and calculate the total inflows for each mode of payment as well as the total outflows for the mode of payment using the related transactions column. So when you go to any mode of payment, you realize that the related transactions column is a list data type. Okay, what that means is it records, it's like a mini table in a column. Okay, so this related transaction is like a mini table. So you can see the various columns of the main transactions table over here relating to just cash. So you're going to treat this column just like it's a table and write a formula with that understanding. So I'm going to create a virtual column, call this total inflows. Now the formula I'm going to use is called select. So select, open square bracket, related transactions. Now I'm bringing open square bracket because it's a column, but then it acts like a table. So I want to select the amounts. So I'll bring column for amount, so related transactions amount. And then I only want to select instances for total inflows, instances where type is equal to income. So if the type is not equal to income, I don't want that particular amount selected. Okay, now once these are selected, all I'm going to do is I'm going to sum them. So sum this. So once this is in place, I can save. I'm going to set the, so this is price, just check currency. Okay, it's none. That's good. And it's 1,000 separator, that's good. So I'll hit done. And then you realize that it has a blue editor because it's a virtual column. Let's do the same for total outflows. So the same formula, so select. What are we selecting? We want to select from the related transactions column amount. Okay. Now we want all instances where type is equal to expenditure. Okay, we're going to sum these. That's for total outflows. Let's save. Done. So once I have these two in place, I'm going to also save this as price. And let me just make sure the currency is not good. Okay, 1,000 separator. Can make this 2 decimal place. Done. Save. Okay, so with that done, when you scroll down, you can see the total inflows 0, total outflows $200. Let me see if I thought I did. Okay, let me change that to none. Hit done. Okay, and that's that. So that's that for cash. This is for bank. See, more money, that's inflow. Okay, good. So basically we are done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these two up. Okay, so I have start balance, I have total inflows, total outflows, and I can calculate my current balance. So what I'm going to do is to make any edits to the view, you just stand in that view, just open that view and click view down here. It will open the UX running this particular view. So currently we have the MOP detail. When you scroll down, you have column order. So I'm going to select how I want this to be ordered. So I want to start with the type, so cash, and then I want to start with the start balance, then followed by total inflows, add total outflows, then I want you to bring the related transactions. So it should look something like this: type, start balance, total inflows, total outflows, and related transactions. With that done, I can save this as well. Okay, so once we have our start balance, total inflows, total outflows, we can now record our current balance. So when I go back to data, I come to mode of payment, I click on view columns. I'm going to add another virtual column called current balance. Okay, now the formula for current balance is going to be, so open square bracket, start balance plus open square bracket total inflows minus open square bracket total outflows. With that done, I can hit save and done. Save this. Okay, now even though I have done this calculation, it's not going to show in this view because I have applied column order. Now the column order restricts what can be seen in the view. So until I go and include the new column, it's not going to show. So I'll come back, click on view here, go to column order, and then add my new view, that's current balance. I'll move it to the top. So these are movable. I'll move it in between type and current balance. So I have a negative balance for cash. I have bank balance of this, and I have a current balance of that. So let's try by recording a couple of transactions and let's see how it looks like. So new transaction, income, category, let's say investments, returns on investment. Mode of payment was bank, and then there was 250 cedis. I'm going to save that. Okay, so a new transaction has been recorded. We come to mode of payment, bank. We have a new inflow of 250 cedis. Okay, let me save this. Okay, so that's our current balance. Sometimes when certain things are not shown, just make sure you save and then they might show. Okay, one more transaction and we are done. So let's say expenditure, category, let's say social, details, donation to local prisons, mode of payment, mobile money. Let's say that was 100 cedis. Let's save this. Okay, so we come here, more money, current balance, just start balance 115, total inflows 55. Now these are outflow 100, we just recorded, and that gives us a current balance of 105. So basically, we've been able to create a data model in AppSheet, and then that is helping us to record transactions in the transaction table and affect our dimension table, which is our mode of payment table. So I hope you're able to learn something and use this to make your app more efficient, make your app more user-friendly and more intuitive. Thank you very much, and see you in the next session.